If you're homeschooling a unique learner and you catch yourself saying, I think it's time I need to switch the curriculum, which many of us do say that, because the reality is with kids that are neurodivergent, on the spectrum, ADHD, their struggle is not the curriculum. It has to do with how you're executing it. And you have to learn how to adapt the curriculum to meet the needs of your child. So this video is going to be my opportunity to share with you how you can, step by step, adapt the curriculum to meet any needs of a child who is neurodivergent. Of course, once you learn that the problem is not with the curriculum, but the problem's with execution, and then you learn like where your child is struggling, it's going to be so easy. Step one is figure out what exactly your child is struggling with. Where is the quote-unquote breakdown or the friction? Is it getting started? So are they having a hard time starting the program and they're fighting you at the initiation? Is it staying with it? Is it the focus? Is their attention span cutting off too soon? They can get one problem done and then they just kind of unravel and want to do something else, and you're really trying to struggle to keep them focused. Does it have to do with writing the assignment? Are they resisting writing? Are they getting fatigued when they're writing? Do you notice that they can give you a verbal answer, but then they struggle with actually putting it down on paper? Is it following directions? Is it because you're giving them too many directions at one time? Or, for example, math, division. Division has several directions that they have to memorize. All those steps, they look at the division problem, they just get completely overwhelmed and they shut down. Is that what's going on? Is it processing speed? In other words, are they taking a long time to hear the question, understand it, digest it, and then respond to it? Some people are too slow, some people are too fast, sometimes it's back and forth and with no pattern whatsoever. That's a processing speed. A lot of us tend to label the kids that have too slow of processing speed as lazy or slow learners because they pause, they shrug, and sometimes during that transition of processing and understanding the information, they might forget what's going on. And so that's kind of a combination of processing speed and working memory. I'm gonna put up a quiz on the screen, and it's going to kind of walk you through and ask you questions, and it's very simple, nothing too advanced, but it's going to help you narrow down where some of those problems are that you can adjust the curriculum to meet the needs of your kid. Now with kids that are neurodivergent, ADHD, on the spectrum, you're going to see a pattern with some of these struggles. So they're going to be like task initiation, like I mentioned before, working memory, sustained attention, emotional regulation, and of course, like I mentioned, processing speed. So of course, as you're taking the quiz, start to think of your child and how they respond. So I talked a little bit about that initiation. That's pretty simple. Working memory. So for example, with that one, if they open the book, they don't know why they opened the book, and then they look at the problems you tell them to do, you tell them the assignment, and they nod and they say, okay. Next thing you know, they're starting number one and they forget to do number one, and then all of a sudden the pencil disappears and they don't know what to do with the pencil or where they put the pencil. That's a working memory thing. So as you can see, each of these things are different problems, and we don't want to try to do all of them at the same time, try to accommodate for all of them. We want to start targeting specific ones. And each of them require different adaptations. It's really important that you don't over-modify. Too much over-modification when it's not needed, the curriculum seems like it's just fallen apart in front of you. So like I said, make sure to target one of these, and then eventually add on a second one when you kind of get the hang of it. Maybe one's not, you have to play with it. It takes time. It's not an overnight thing. Teaching is really a lifelong experience, but teaching can take a while. You're going to have to get to know your kid, what works, what doesn't work, and you're going to have to be involved with them. And that's really what homeschooling is anyway, is being involved with your kids in their education. So think about that as you're working with them. Now I'm going to encourage you to really, really start digging in. Let's say that one of their struggles is the working memory, okay? I really want to encourage you to start to do some research. You're going to have to. This video is not going to solve all the problems, okay? Do some research on what can help with working memory. Curriculum adaptations for working memory, or modifications for working memory. Now, one of the things that I have noticed when it comes to workload. Most of the time, the workload is just too much. A lot of us as homeschool parents, we start to think, okay, the more work they do, the more they're going to learn. And that's not necessarily the case, especially with some of these kids that are neurodivergent. Sometimes they're going to get the skill and they're going to move on, and they need to. Now, there are situations where they need some repetition. They need a lot of repetition. And this is why it's really good to understand your kid and what they need. I'm just going to kind of give you an example. So you have a curriculum in let's say it's a full curriculum, right? We're going to touch on all the subjects. So we have math. You're given like 25 to 35 math problems. Then you have a 2-page written narrative that they have to do, and 5 comprehension questions after they read 2 chapters, and a worksheet that they have to complete for a science activity as well as a science experiment. Okay, that's a lot, actually. And sometimes our kids that are neurodivergent, they're just gonna like shut down. It's just too much, especially if you throw all of this at them at once. Now, let's break it down, because that's going to help some of our kids with their overload, right? So let's just focus on math, for example. 25 questions to 35 questions is a lot. Maybe what you can do is say, let's do the odd problems. Yeah, let's just do them. And you're learning what odd numbers are, and reviewing them if they're older. So you do the odd problems. They go through it. Great, good work for today. If they learned the skill after doing those odd problems, you know what? You don't need to repeat it if they learned it. Now, let's say you need to repeat it because they didn't really learn it that well. Okay, the next day, they're going to do even problems. That means you took one lesson and divided it into 2 days. Please do not worry about finishing curriculum. That is one thing that homeschool parents seem to just get really obsessed about, is finishing the curriculum on time. Please don't do that, because I will admit that we have done math, one curriculum of math, over a 1.5 year time span. We have completed IEW, one thing, right? One curriculum, one full year curriculum in 2 years. And I feel like my kids have learned the skills better because we took the time to learn those things. That's one way to modify. Okay, so now going to the second assignment where it says complete a 2-page written narrative. Why don't we just do a paragraph? Same with the comprehension questions. If there's like 5 questions and you're covering 2 chapters from a literature book, maybe just do like 1 chapter and 2 comprehension questions. Or if you need to, oral dictation. Instead of having them write down the answer, maybe they can oral dictate 1, 3, and 5, and then write down 2 and 3. You kind of have to play with it, get a little creative with how you're having them present the material back to you. And then of course, the assignment with a lab and a worksheet, maybe they do the lab and then the next day they do the worksheet. Or maybe you just do the lab and have a conversation about it and skip the worksheet. They might actually learn more by doing that. And that's where a lot of us former teachers use busy work. That term busy work is when we're giving so much work when they already have mastered the skill, the work that's unnecessary. Keep an eye on that. I actually did one consultation. The parent was using, actually this has happened several times, they're using a curriculum that was actually meant for the classroom, but they were trying to mimic that at home. And I was like, seriously, just cross out pages that your kids already understand. And no, do the odd and even problems. This is not lowering your expectations. This is preventing burnout and protecting your child's executive functioning. Now, a little bit about curriculum. I mentioned that it's totally okay to extend the curriculum beyond that year. The same is true shortening the curriculum. I've had situations where we have completed 2 math curriculums in 1 year because they got the concept really super quick and I didn't need to spend all that time doing every single problem in the book. Okay, it goes both ways. And that does have to do with processing speed. By the way, our kids that have ADHD may be too slow with their processing speed or too fast with their processing speed. And that's where sometimes you will see like kids that have ADHD, they're like right on top of things and they're super sharp. But then they start to have issues with their working memory and then they forget where things are. You know what I'm talking about? We see that in grown-ups too. When a child with ADHD feels completely overwhelmed by the material and you're finding yourself having to cut it back, if you try to push that material, they're going to go into burnout. It causes anxiety and it's going to cause avoidance. Slowing it down and breaking it apart like I just described, that's going to build retention, that's going to build confidence, and that's going to build competence. And of course, confidence with some kind of material eventually will lead to independence. And they will be lifelong learners because they will own that learning. And it seems scary in the beginning. I get it, because we have that mindset that we got to finish the curriculum, we got to rush through things, we got to do a lot of stuff. Not with our kids sometimes, not with our kids. We've got to reverse that thinking. Just a quick example when it comes to writing, saying that you have to write a 3-paragraph essay on a topic, break that down. Step 1, give me an oral summary. Step 2, write 1 strong paragraph. Step 3, expand it. And that can happen over 3 days or just step by step. So let's talk about reducing cognitive load. When there's too much cognitive load, it's like that's when they have burnout, right? I've talked a little bit about how you have like little slots, okay? And once you fill up those slots, they shut down, all right? And the only way to like get rid of some empty spots in their brain is by either dumping it or shutting down. We got to get some adaptations. One thing you can do is reading the instructions out loud with them following. You can go through the directions and cut things out and only highlight with a pen what needs to be done instead of them having to memorize what has to be done. If you highlight it, it's right there. They don't have to fill up a slot with what the assignment actually is. You can cover half of the worksheet, for example, and have them only see what they're working on in that moment. I've done the same thing where I cover up everything except for the sentence that they're working on. I've also purposefully made separate worksheets that has 1 assignment on 1 page, or I've used a whiteboard to write that 1 question on there instead of presenting them with all 5 questions. That helps them to not be visually overwhelmed. Allowing them to orally give you the answer or orally narrate before they actually write things down on paper. If your child has dysgraphia, I have also found that typing things out instead of writing it actually is a modification, and it helps them tremendously. You can also, with writing, break it down into simple sentence steps. So, for example, you sit down and we're going to work on the first paragraph. We're going to work on outlining this. So it's your introduction. So you're going to write a Roman numeral 1. All right. Start working on the thesis first. So it's just breaking it down. Of course, adding movement before difficult work, that always helps. Go outside, jump on the trampoline. I always love that one. That's my favorite. Jumping on the trampoline. Sometimes have dance parties. Dance parties are great too. You can also use a visual timer instead of actually reminding them verbally, because they take ownership of the time that they have. Also, of course, when you reduce that cognitive load by using these steps that I just shared with you, resistance is also going to decrease as well as burnout. You're not going to see meltdowns happen as much. And if you see meltdowns, reduce it even more. But at the same time, I am going to add that you don't want to get stuck in something where you feel like you just can't seem to get past this one thing. At that point, you want to take a break from that topic, move on to something else, and if you're using a curriculum as spirals, hopefully you will come back and revisit that topic. Okay, I'm going to talk about scaffolding now. All right, scaffolding sounds like a really big, scary word when I first heard it when I was a new teacher and learning all about fun educational things. That word just sounded very confusing. So the best way to understand scaffolding is that you are giving them support. All right, think of it, or actually, you know what? Better image. You know how a building and you have scaffolding as you're building the building, and eventually you're going to start pulling the scaffolding away and allow the building to stand freely on its own. And that's what I'm talking about when we're talking about support. You are going to support them whether you're using visuals, whether you're talking them through it, whether you're giving them examples, whether you're bringing in manipulatives. You're going to be talking them and working through the assignment. Children should not be expected to do this all on their own. They do need your help. And it is not cheating, it's modeling. And eventually they will do it on their own, because modeling is the best way to teach. It really is. They learn more from seeing you model more than anything else. So write me a paragraph about this chapter. So the first thing you want to do is tell me what the main idea is. Great. Now add something to it. Give it a little bit more detail. Let's write a clear sentence down together about this. Over time, your support is going to naturally fade because they're going to know what to do with it. Now, another example that I can think of is mathematics. I'm always going to go back to the division. Why? Because I've worked on division a lot with kids, with 4th graders. So division, maybe you write the steps out to the side. Maybe you tell them the steps before they actually do it. Or maybe you alternate, hey, what do you do first? If they don't know, tell them. What do you do second? They'll slowly start to learn the steps. And obviously when you're doing division, start small. Don't do multiple digits right off the back. But most importantly, whenever you're making any kind of adaptations to any type of curriculum, you have to keep your child in mind first. And in order to keep them first, you have to experience learning and education and life together. You have to understand their learning styles. You have to understand their weaknesses. You have to understand their strengths. And you have to experience it with them. That's what homeschooling is. Experiencing learning together with you, guiding them through this and providing for them all their needs. You can't just throw them in front of the curriculum and say, go. You have to be an active participant in their education. Secondly, it's going to take a lot of time. It's going to take a lot of patience and time. It doesn't happen overnight. It's not a one quick fix done. Before you change curriculum, at least try to modify it while you're experiencing education with them. Experience life with them. Don't just get bogged down in the academics and education. Experience life with them, get to know them, and start to develop that really strong parental relationship with them. That's what homeschooling is about anyway. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to learn more, feel free to subscribe to this channel as we continue to kind of explore some of these really cool topics when it comes to neurodivergence, unique learners, ADHD, spectrum, even Down syndrome, because my youngest daughter does have Down syndrome. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye.